how do you describe Feng Shui to someone with no previous knowledge? Please finish this sentence. Proponents of Feng Shui believe that...
Well, I believe that our homes are another layer of us. Here we are. We have our there's an outer layer of us, our clothes, and there's our home around us, and we are energetic beings. So it stands to reason that beyond our energy, of our energy body, there's another energy field, perhaps with its own little system around us. And so your home is kind of another energy center around you, which you're inextricably linked to.
Okay. In your opinion, what relevance does Feng Shui have in the modern Western world?
Well, Feng Shui, the terminology of it, has been around since the, thousands of years. So much of the body knowledge comes from China. However, our relationship with space, every culture has an understanding of that, whatever its name is. And where we're going now in humanity is we're reclaiming a lot of our natural knowledge. We're looking back, we're looking at the roots of things, we're reconnecting with nature in a deeper, stronger way. So to find our connection with Feng Shui, I really refined to reclaim that. I think it's even more important now, particularly actually since people have spent so long at home. We've just had a year, 18 months, where almost all over the world there's been lockdowns and people have been forced home. They've been forced to have a new relationship with their home like they've never had before, rushing out into them each morning to commute somewhere to work, being forced to be at home. So they're now seeing homes differently, and they're wanting different things from homes. I think people buying homes now are looking for different things. How close am I to nature? How can I bring nature into my home? So I think having a bit more knowledge of Feng Shui, this is the trend really, for a deeper understanding of how we can live more harmoniously in the homes that we have.
Okay. How did you get into Feng Shui? Where and how did you learn Feng Shui?
I was in need of new direction in the early 90s. I had been through a kind of a life-changing period of time where I'd been unwell, and I was looking for something new. I was looking for answers, and I saw an advertisement in East West Centre. I think they were running a macrobiotic supper and a Feng Shui weekend, and it just literally spoke to me. I thought, oh, this is interesting. And by synchronicity, by pure chance, I found a press cutting in my cupboard. I really didn't take many press cuttings, but I found this, and it was something from the Sunday Times as a Feng Shui master. Derek Walters, I think it was, and I'd kept it. And then I looked at it, I thought, this is interesting. So I went along that weekend and something lit up inside me. I just thought, oh my goodness me, this is William Spear's foundation weekend back in 1992, 93. And I thought, the world has to know about this. So I went away. In fact, I went away 24 hours later. I got Bill to come to my house. I just moved into, to come to my office I was just moving into. I had a PR agency at the time, and I got a photograph taken of us. I put it in the PR news and marketing press. I used it as a news story, and I did all the things that Bill suggested, and I thought, how amazing that they actually working. So I had a real appetite for something, and around the same time, Bill was looking for some support in the UK, so we ended up working together. I arranged his consultations, and eventually started to arrange his courses. And as the hunger grew, other people like me really wanted to find out more. We created the Feng Shui Society to create a nucleus, a community for us to come together and have these conversations about Feng Shui. Eventually, I then established an international education program. It's the first professional Feng Shui training in the world. I found the teachers all over the world. This is pre-internet days. Found people. That's how I got my education. I brought the teachers in to London. I learnt with Bill, and we did a kind of broad spectrum knowledge base, and exciting times, yeah. And I resolved that we would put Feng Shui on the map. And I think because my hunger was reflecting out in society, there was a hunger for it, and of course, having the skill of working in PR, I got a mention in virtually every newspaper and magazine. And that was what I was looking to do. And we actually won an award for being a small business, putting something on the map. We got it out there, got an understanding of it out there.
Right. Why typically do people come to you for Feng Shui advice?
When they need help. Something's not working in their life. Or curiosity. You know, I can go into somebody's house and they hear, you know, my involvement with Feng Shui and they get nervous. They think I'm looking them over. They feel judged. And I say, no, I've not turned my Feng Shui eyes on. You can relax. But sometimes people want approval for what they've done. But always underneath there's something in their life that's not working and they want some help with. They don't necessarily know that Feng Shui will be the answer. They don't actually trust that, but they'll have a little go. Curious. They're curious.
What are your specific ethics in terms of working with Feng Shui clients? What are your key professional values for Feng Shui?
I would say gaining trust, having someone trust what I can suggest to them, because I've yet to, I think only in one case I've said, you've got to do this. It's always a recommendation, but I've seen a couple of things that are quite severe and I say, take that picture down, get rid of that, that's really bad, or move this. But essentially it's having the trust to work with someone like an interior designer and say, look, this is what you want out of life. How about you do these things in your home? And it's a very personal space and they share very personal information. So you have to have trust. They have to trust you as a person before they trust their life with you, really.
What has been your most challenging Feng Shui job and why? What did you learn from it?
I think the most challenging is my own home, the healthy home. I moved in the late 90s when I had the Feng Shui school. I moved north and ended up in an old cottage, which we then started to build on and renovate and renovated the old barn. So I was putting into practice everything I'd been learning in Feng Shui, and not just placement, but also natural building materials, cleansing energies, you know, the whole aspect of the whole wide spectrum of Feng Shui knowledge. And just building that old house became the healthy home. And then of course I'd written the Feng Shui house book, and then Conran asked me to write another book, and I wrote The Healthy Home based on what I was learning practically in this old house of wiring it and testing the fields in the walls, finding out that the wooden beams were conducting electrical field, earthing the desks, earthing walls, all sorts of things behind the scenes, and having the opportunity to make choices for more natural varnishes and materials, keeping out chemicals as best we could. Ritual, sacred process in the house. But because I had this house and also I had my house in London, it was an interesting journey to have two houses, which, you know, always get to do, but I lived in two places. And witnessing when something happened in one house, it would happen in the other. So in theory, I knew how when something happens, it's an opportunity for you to think, oh, why is this happening? You know, why has my sink overflowed? Why have I got a water problem? Why is the boiler broken? And to think, if I'm linked to my environment, is there a message here? Is it a warning about something if something's broken? But when the same things happen in both homes at the same time, sometimes to the minute, you think, aha, that's really kind of proving. I remember one night I was up in Yorkshire at the Yorkshire House, and my partner called me from London and said the water's gone off in the house in London, and the builders must have turned it off next door or something, but there's no water. And as he was speaking to me late at night, I could hear the water pump grinding to a halt in the Yorkshire House. So literally it was that kind of timing, and I would have to explore, what does that mean? You know, it's not just the water pump, it's a warning, it's the universe speaking to me. So it's a very interesting journey coping with a very old house and figuring out some of the Feng Shui issues.
Describe a Feng Shui project that you found particularly interesting or rewarding.
I would say working with my house in London, deciding to sell after 25 years, closing up a chapter of my life, and moving somewhere else and not knowing where I wanted to go. That was a really interesting one, because is it the house that's calling you somewhere? Is that pulling you forward, or are you going forward and then choosing the house? It was interesting. So it was a real life project with that one. But closing off 25 years of the London house, selling it, losing the sale, knowing about Feng Shui and doing all the rituals for making it happen, and then having it happen against all the political and taxation dramas that are going on in the society. But selling the house, through synchronicity, making resolutions, creating rituals, and then have the house sell magically after a long journey. That was an interesting process, because it's what I tell other people to do, and then when you have to do it yourself, to take your own medicine, and then choosing a new place to live and bedding myself in there, manifesting the house I wanted by really deciding what I wanted to have. So just being the recipient of my own advice, literally, in a sense, consulting myself and finding my way through what I knew to create the house I wanted. So that's been a fascinating journey.
What aspects of Feng Shui are you most passionate about?
I've always been interested in how to have good sleep and how to keep the house electrically silent. And we went to a lot of expense and effort up at the Healthy Home to have it cabled and wired and keep the fields low and not have Wi-Fi until we absolutely had to. And that's when really iPhones and iPads came in. It was expected that you'd be able to, rather than plug your computer in, you had to have that. So we would have that on, but during the day, keeping electromagnetic fields low, keeping the electricity low, having those energy breaks in the house. So it's always been an interest of mine, having a really calm sleeping environment, sleeping on a special mattress, having good rituals for that. And then bringing nature in and having great views of nature. My relationship with nature outside the house, inside the house, having the view, having the vista, so that I can expand my sense of self rather than feeling trapped, as I sometimes did in my London house, tiny mews in the centre of London. Bringing nature in, bringing light in. So that's what I've been doing in houses, just thriving on light and having it rather than feeling closed in.
In terms of your Feng Shui consultations and or teaching, what is your unique selling point?
I suppose my relationship with a healthy home. The fact that I have this, the oldest part is 700 years old. There's a new building there, it's still called the new building, built about 14 years ago, and the process we went through with that. Every aspect of Feng Shui we played out there. And that's what I'm known for, the healthy home, and we now market it as a retreat that other people can go and stay at. And years and years of putting love into the house, where I would host a retreat, I would teach there, and I'd have schools and courses there, and people would stay off site. Now they can stay on site, but welcoming people in and being a partner with the house, feeling the house be the co-host with me, because it had so much energy in, and people coming in and immediately going, oh, this is lovely, I feel so welcome, I feel so relaxed. That's what we put in the house. And so to work with the house that way and have other people experience it, that is, I think that's one of my achievements.
What direction is your Feng Shui work currently taking you? What lies ahead?
Well, the Feng Shui Housebook came out, I don't know, in 1998, and I really think there's a case for a reboot. Looking at that again, I've been looking at doing a podcast from the Healthy Home and having conversations and seeing what's moved on in 20 years since I did the original research. Where are we still at? Where are we the same? And what has leapt forward? What problems have been solved? What new problems have been created? I think these are interesting conversations. I also think that people are more interested in it now than they were 20 years ago. There were people who are interested in it now who weren't born then. Young people who are interested in making the most of their homes, especially living in the environment we live in now. I also write a column in the House of Preeminence magazine, which is an online digital magazine for women, and exploring all aspects of living a healthy life, living positive well-being.
The last question, what advice would you give to a new Feng Shui enthusiast?
Put your own house in order. Really, and you never stop there. There's always something new to develop. I remember when we were training the first kind of generation of Feng Shui practitioners, looking at their own homes and then branching out and then working for clients in those early days as they were learning to be a Feng Shui practitioner. They never were sent anything they couldn't handle. It's the more knowledge they had, the more confident they had, then they would get more complicated, more adventurous, or more difficult clients. So the universe is always working with us. So start with your own home, do what you can, make it work everywhere, and then, things will move forward from there.
Thank you.